Hello, and welcome to episode 12 of Not Again with Sandy. It's been a minute since I had my last video, and I apologize for that. Things got really busy here, just kind of seasonal things, nothing earth-shattering, but it did prevent me from having the time to record a video until now. So this channel is about looking at mistakes in past sweaters, trying to figure out what the root causes of those mistakes were, what could I do to prevent those mistakes in the future. And if you're a knitter, maybe you've been here too. Let's talk about my current works in progress. We always start with those. But there is a little bit of a story behind some of these. So I'll just run through the status and then we'll talk about the stories. So first let's start with this amazingly huge Afghan that I've been making for my grandson. The last time we talked, I had just started this second navy section, and I have continued to this kind of medium blue, lighter blue, and then this light blue. And the only color after this is white, and then I'm done. So I've made good progress on this. But it is absolutely huge. Oh my goodness. I just did these bands using up one whole skein for each color, thinking, well, I've got the yarn, I might as well do that. And I couldn't really imagine, because I didn't bother measuring, why would one do that? How large it was going to be. This is going to be significantly taller than my grandson, who is a tall person. So yeah, I'm just telling myself it will fit very nicely across a good sized couch. He will be able to be very cozy underneath it if he decides to use it to cover himself while he's watching TV. So I've committed to this pattern now. I can't change it now. So that's all right. Now I have the other sweater that I'm making my older grandson. Doesn't look that much different from the last time I showed it, does it? It looks kind of maybe just a little bit longer. Well, let me tell you that this is the third time I have knitted this sweater. And let me explain what the heck happened. If you go back and look at my last video, you'll see when I hold it up that the neckline on the sweater seems really wide, really wide. I noticed that and I thought, why is it so wide? I bought exactly the same yarn as I did for the green sweater that I made my other grandson. So I was using exactly the same needles, thinking I don't have to test for gauge. It's the same yarn. But it wasn't. It wasn't the same yarn. When I took some of that green yarn and the blue yarn, I could see visibly that the blue yarn was a little bit thicker. And also, I don't know if you've ever done this where if you take two strands of yarn and cross them over and fold them over so you've got one loop here and one loop here and they're connected, and you just run your hands over that, you should be able to tell very quickly if the yarns feel like they're of the same bulkiness. And that was a test I learned from an advanced knitter, to ask if you are wanting to substitute a yarn for another yarn, how can you know if you are substituting something that's very similar? And that was the test that she advocated. So visually and by feel, I could tell that the blue yarn was a little bit thicker. So I set about figuring out gauge for it, but it was thick enough that in order to get gauge, I had to reduce my needle size to the point where the fabric I was making was really kind of stiff. And that wasn't what I was looking for. So I thought, well, get rid of this yarn. I'm just gonna pick something else out. So I went back to Hobby Lobby and found a different yarn. Okay, So here is the yarn I picked out. It's sort of a heathered blue, kind of I think it was actually called denim. And that I thought would be fun for a sweater. It would go well with jeans, you know, so I chose that. But as I was knitting it, first skein went great. Second skein started having very dark patches. I don't know if you can see how dark some of these are. Maybe if I hold it up in front of there, it's definitely got dark patches. Now this was the inside of the skein, which I was working from. So from the outside, the skein looked great. But on the inside, I had these very dark patches, and it put like a rim, a very abstract rim in the place where I had joined the yarn and started my new skein. So I thought, well, that's not working. I need to find more skeins like the first one that I found. So I went to a different Hobby Lobby, one about 30 miles away from me, found the same yarn, brought my knitting with me. It looked okay, but I started knitting it, and I hope you can see it as clearly as I could. But yeah, there is a line where the new skein started, and this has just got a little slightly purple tinge to it. It's still blue, it's still variegated, although it doesn't seem to have as much white showing through, but it's definitely got a purple tinge, and there's a very definite line. I knitted quite a bit of it because I kept thinking maybe it's going to get better. No, it didn't. So now I'd invested in two versions of yarn and didn't think they were going to work out. So what I decided to do, and I should have thought of this in the beginning, which goes to show you that even though you know what the answer is, sometimes you don't remember it in time before you buy a whole nother sweater quantity of yarn, is I went back to my original blue yarn, and I just figured out with the gauge I was getting and the type of fabric I was creating, what size I needed to make so it would fit my grandson better. And I think this one's going to work out better. This neckline is not near as wide as the other one was, and the fabric is soft, warm, but not stiff. So that was kind of an expensive lesson for me and a humbling one, because I already knew about changing the size to match my gauge if I couldn't make my gauge match the size. I hope that made sense. It sounded good in my head when I said it. Anyway, so yes, it's been a little bit of an ordeal, and I actually have now knitted to this point in the sweater 3 times. But I feel like this is where I'm going, and I'll be okay. All right, let's talk about the sweater I want to talk about today. Now, for a change, this sweater didn't have any mistakes that I'm aware of, and I actually made some changes to it, and it worked out well. So this sweater probably set me up for future failures. But let me tell you about it first. This is the Pavement sweater by Vera Valimaki. Am I saying that right? Valimaki? Yeah. She collaborates quite often with Hoki Locatelli. And so this is just a simple, really simple cardigan, kind of a scoop neck. It has like bracelet sleeves, 3/4 sleeves, and there was no shaping at all. It was very easy to do, and what I like about it is it has the garter edges to it. So there's a garter edge around the neck, around the sleeves, and around the hem. But of course, I am a pear-shaped woman, and I love to have my things that I make expand as I go toward the hip line. I like to have that additional length. So when I made this sweater, I created a series of increases along the sides, just like other sweaters I've made. and I made it long enough to cover my hips. And it worked out really well. So let me show it to you. If you can see how it increases a little bit here. Here's the garter edge, garter sleeve edge, and the bottom. And what I really love about this yarn is it's called Forlorn Unicorn. So it's mostly a gray, a tonal gray. There's quite a bit of variation in the gray also. And then there is this little bit of the skein that is rainbow colored. It almost looks holographic when you're wearing it. It's like this rainbow just kind of comes out from behind the gray. It's really fun. When I was making it, it was staying pretty random here at the top, but then it started to want to pool off. And I met a woman about that time who told me that she just didn't worry about what happened with the variegated colors, that if it decided to pool in a certain way, she let that go. So I took her advice and just let it go. But I think it turned out well. It has some visual interest because of the movement of the colors, and it was just a fun garment to wear and to knit. But yes, I saw how well this turned out with just making a few changes and thought, wow, I'm good at this now. I can make changes to garments and I know what I'm doing. I know what's going on here. And as we get into future episodes, you'll see that that was not the case. Very definitely not the case, but I'm so glad this one turned out well. And obviously, as you heard from my current projects, the learning continues. Sometimes the relearning continues. That's all for our episode today. Thank you for joining me.